friends, and welcome back to my channel, rocking my WSU hat. I am a WSU grad, go Cougs. But today I am answering a very requested question. I have shown you guys my weekly reviews. I have shown you my quarterly resets and reviews. I haven't actually shown you my monthly reviews. So today that is exactly what we are going to do. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into my monthly reset routines and reviews that I use to help me keep on track with my goals, keep on track with my habits, and just use it as that check-in point to just kind of see how things are going in my life and in my business. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and let's dive into this. So first and foremost, obviously we're going to go straight to the reviews and reflections. Now, usually the end of the month will often coincide with doing a weekly review. So that would just be doing that review for that kind of final week of the month. I actually already did this earlier this week, so I have my review for May already done. This only goes through Monday, so I am missing like 2 days of the month, but I often find that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference. So that's kind of the first part of this, is doing that weekly review. I will go ahead and link down below some of my more recent weekly reviews that I have shared on YouTube, if that's something you are interested in checking out. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and dive straight into the monthly review. Now, I have already done a May monthly review, as you will see here, but just for the sake of kind of showing you guys the process, I am just going to go ahead and I am going to create a new May window, a new May review page. Now, what this does is it pulls in the template. It is automatically set up to do that. And this template has been tweaked and modified and improved over the course of time. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this full screen because I hate working out of the center preview. You've probably heard me say that before if you are somebody who watches a lot of my Notion videos. But the first thing I will do is I always add a cover. I usually add something that's a little bit kind of month related. So maybe something like spring flowers or something like that would be something that I would add here. I actually really, really like this one. This is kind of like chrysanthemum-esque. My grandpa was actually my late grandpa was a master chrysanthemum gardener. So whenever I see chrysanthemums, they remind me of him. So pick my cover photo, and then I go in and I associate this month with whatever quarter it goes with. So this one is going to be with Q2, April to June, 2023. This guy right here. So I'll go ahead and associate it with that. Just like it does for my monthly reviews, it'll pull in all of the associated reviews from, that have been associated with that quarter. So like, for example, if I go back to my my March review, that is associated with Q1. So then when I went in and I did my Q1 review, it pulled those 3 months. So just something that's, I think, helpful to do as you kind of do the review, because then it just really makes it so much easier when you sit down to do the quarterly review. And again, if you want these systems, the templates aren't exactly what I've been using currently, but if you want to kind of get started and play around with this review system, check out my free Notion template down below. It's got my reviews built into it, and I'm obsessed and I absolutely love it. Okay, so now that I've got that, the next thing you'll see down here is I've got my different weekly reviews that I did over the course of May. This seems like very few reviews, but I guess maybe it's not. I shorted May a little bit perhaps, because I obviously did this one on the 2nd and I finished my last review on the 29th. So I do only have 3 reviews. If you are super, super nitpicky about it, then what you can also go in and do is pull in any of the reviews that have any of the days of May in it. So like I could pull in the review from the very, very last week of April if I really felt like I needed to. I don't really feel like I do here. So usually these reviews are going to play an important part in just a second. But usually the first thing I do is I go in and I update my habit tracker and my habit report. I really need to go into the template and reorganize these for like how I generally think about them, because generally I kind of do them in order of like how I would engage in these behaviors. So like I would usually do my 7.5 hours of sleep check-in, and then I would do my meditation, and then I would do my reading. I really just need to reorder the template so it's in the right order so I don't have to do this every single time. And then I'm going to do my walk, and then actually you should go up here. my walk, and then I'll try to stretch after that. And then there we go. I try to put, after I get through the morning routine, since those are all the things that usually happen together, then I put like the daily things, and then I put the weekly things. So usually that's the order. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check in on these. Oh yeah, and then the weekly finance date has to go down here. Okay, cool. There we go. That's the approximate order. I like it in, and I really go in and change my template so it looks like that. And then I just go in and I update any of these that I haven't updated. As obviously, as I'm recording this, it is June 2nd. So I have actually updated the majority of these. I actually did stretch yesterday. I should update that one. And I did do my business non-negotiables yesterday, and I've done them today. So this one's updated. This one I updated as well, as was this one. Sweet. Okay, so all of these are updated. That's usually the first thing I check into. And it's not a bad idea when you're doing that check-in too, to come down here to the what worked, what didn't work, and what can I improve. I find it's just helpful to do it now instead of backtracking. So since I just looked at my habits, what I can actually go ahead and do to make things easier for myself is I can even sort these habits by progress. And I'm going to do descending. And this, I think, is a nice view to use because then it really shows me what habits I am killing it in and what habits I am not. I can always remove this sort if I don't want it to be there, but I'll usually go in, update them, and then sort them to see which ones I'm like really, really killing it at. And then I update that down below in my what worked or my what didn't work. So I can do it that way. Or the other way I can do it, which is actually probably more of what I tend to do, is I can literally just check into my weekly reviews to help me build my what worked and my didn't work. So that's probably what I'm going to do today. But before I do that, I'm going to check into my monthly goals and see where I'm at with those. So in terms of getting to my goal of having $5,000 in passive recurring income, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to update this. So right now I have probably about, and let me go ahead and I'm going to off the screen, I'm going to go ahead and look at my finances to see how my recurring income looks. Let's see here. When I do this, and again, I'm doing this off the screen because obviously this is a little bit more personal information than just doing the review is, what I'm usually looking at is I'm looking at the business income in my finance tracker. And I'm looking at everything except for speaking in my finance tracker. And the reason why I do that is because speaking is usually one-off income for me, whereas the other income that I have coming in is more of ballpark recurring income. So that is a much clearer representation of where I'm at with my recurring income. And I've gone up a little bit, not nearly as much as I wanted to, but I'm at about $1,600 in recurring income right now. So I just went in and I updated that, and I'm actually going to delete this filter because I don't need it. So there's that. I actually also think this is a really, really good reminder for that I have built into this template to make sure that I'm synced with the last month. And that is just something that's, I think, helpful to do because then it syncs these text blocks. You don't need to sync databases in Notion because those automatically update to represent what is currently in the database. But blocks like this, you do need to sync if you want them to automatically update. So let me actually go ahead and do that really quickly. I'm just going to sync them with April. So I want this one, and I'm just going to say copy and sync, pop back into the May, and I'm going to delete this, paste this block, and then drag it to where I want it to be. So any changes that I make in here, like say I do complete this goal, it will automatically update. And a good example of that is, let's go ahead and look at the next block, because this one actually is updated to be complete. This goal is complete. This goal about getting rid of my furniture and moving into a studio apartment, that one's done. I'm in my new studio apartment. I'm actually returning my keys to my old place today. So I'm going to go ahead and paste and sync that block and delete the old one. So now that I've got that synced, actually, I don't even find that I need, and see, this is why I don't like working in the center view because it's irritatingly small. I actually don't need this anymore either because that was at, if you saw that was at 100%. So I don't need that anymore. I can just delete it. And then same thing here. What I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do is, I actually just updated these the other day, so I don't need to go in and update them, but I am going to sync that block. So if and when once I complete that goal, we're going to say when I complete that goal, then I can tick it off and it'll update my block automatically. So let's go ahead and let's paste that. Beautiful. So that's kind of the one of the shifts that I made in my goal setting. You might have seen me talk about this in my recent quarterly review. One of the shifts I made in my goal setting is to make it a little bit easier for me to track my goals and kind of integrate that tracking with the rest of my systems. I used to, and let me kind of show you what it used to look like. If we go back to like December, I used to have goals where I was kind of going in and checking things off inside of the goal page, which seemed really redundant because I already have these kinds of tasks integrated into my like actual task management system. So it felt really redundant to check them off in my task management system and then have to come in here at the end of the month and check them off in this system as well. So I've tried to integrate stuff a little bit more into my review processes. So like, for example, all of the goals that are here, all of these goals are key result goals. So I can just link to whatever that key result is in my OKR goal setting system, and it automatically updates it without me having to do any extra manual labor. And then same thing if I had something that was more of a project goal, my project goals, I'll actually go ahead and show you that really quickly. The project goals that I am tracking have a progress bar inside of those as well. So I can keep track of my progress toward creating those goals. So this is actually a bad example because this one doesn't really have any to-dos in it. Let's see, what's a good one? This is a good one. So this has a goal that I am working for. I have tasks that I have to work to complete underneath it. And as I check those tasks off, the progress bar ticks up. So that's something that I've changed in my reviews recently and how I track my goals is to just make it a bit easier for me to not have to do so much manual labor in terms of tracking my goals. So I check in on my goals. And then the next thing that I do is I actually go back into each of these weekly reviews to see what were some of the repeating patterns that came up. But what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is I'm going to open all of these reviews in new tabs so that I can more easily go in and access them and see what some of the repeating patterns are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then put those repeating patterns, successes, memories into this check-in down here. So let's go ahead and do that. So first and foremost, we're going to look at the very, very first week of the year. And again, what I'm looking for is I am looking for things that jump out at me as things that I know were repeating patterns over the course of the last month. That's why I do this, is so I can identify what those repeating patterns are. And I definitely think something that was a repeating pattern was my meditation and my reading. I definitely feel like I definitely feel like I'm getting back into the swing of things with my my workouts. That I definitely think is a repeating pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that over into my monthly review. And we're just going to go ahead and paste this guy down here. And I'm going to say of this month. So just slightly updating that goal. And now let's jump back into the weekly review. I got back on track with my weekly reviews and finance check-ins. That's definitely something that I continue to be on track with. But I don't necessarily know that that's like worth noting here. What didn't work, very distracted by moving. That was a common theme over the course of the last couple months. So let's go ahead and let's actually copy that over as well. So I'm copying things over that I know were repeating patterns from the previous week reviews. Definitely feeling like I wasn't into a good routine and my business non-negotiables being very, very off. These both have definitely been repeating patterns of the last month. So let's go ahead and copy those in. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's probably it for that first week of the month. Actually, though, one more thing I do want to take note of, again, just because it's easier, is to look at the memories of the month. So if I don't look at the memories here, what I'll usually do is just go into my Google Calendar and see what things we've got in the Google Calendar. But since I've got this memory here, I'll go ahead and pop that into my memories for the month as well. Again, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I just like to keep track of these things. I like to make my check-ins about so much more than just like my goals and how many tasks did I accomplish, because I just, I'm very, very high achieving and like task oriented and very type A. That's how my brain works. That's something that makes me feel good and fulfilled. But, at the same time, I don't want my entire life to be about to-do lists and goals and whatnot. I want to celebrate some of those other moments as well, which is a big reason I integrated memories and successes into my review. So that should be it for that first week. So I'm going to go ahead and close that guy. Now let's go ahead and pop over to the second week of the month. And again, here, once again, I am just looking out for things that I know were repeating patterns. This one definitely was. So the fact that I have actually been making it to Trader Joe's, now that I know there's a Trader Joe's near me, which I didn't know before, now that I am making it to Trader Joe's, I feel like my eating has been so much healthier. I still indulge. Don't get me wrong. Love me some wine. The wine rack is literally behind my head. But I've definitely been eating healthier because I've been making it to Trader Joe's. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that guy over. That's a very, very important thing that I think has been happening much more this month. I definitely agree with this one. I think, I said in the last one, meditating and reading, but I also think this little added thing that I put here about how reading has been a wind down activity that I've started to do at the end of the night. I usually read nonfiction in the morning and then fiction before I go to bed. That definitely has been something that I've been very much enjoying and that I do feel like it's been working. All right, so let's pop that guy over here as well. What else do we have? This was something that was very, very specific to this particular week. This fact that I had a very, very good sense of my own social bandwidth when I was at a wedding with some friends that I haven't seen in years. This is one thing I didn't realize I'd have to think about with me wearing a hat in this video. I'm wearing a hat because I haven't done my hair yet and I just went for a walk before this. But like, if I have my hat tipped down to usually where I wear it, you can't see my face because my camera's up above. So I have to tip my hat up. Anyways, that was definitely something that was very specific to that weekend, but I don't think it was a repeating pattern. So I'm not going to copy it. This, I definitely think I'm going to copy because I feel like the one thing I did a really, really good job at this month. It's only June, Ellen. This month, I think something I did a really good job with was prioritizing rest as needed. I did a really good job at like listening to my body and giving my body what it needed this month. So let's go ahead and pop that in here. And I'm going to say this month. I'm going to add listening to my body. It was definitely something that I did a lot this month. All right, let's see if we've got anything else in here. Being very self-compassionate with my schedule and my habits. I also think this was a really good repeated pattern this month. Pop that guy over here. And yeah, I think that's probably it in terms of the what worked. What didn't work, let's see. Traveling definitely threw things off. That's for sure. This definitely was something that was a factor this month. My body image got very thrown off. I saw some pictures of me that I didn't like. I'll be very transparent that it just very much got in my head about just like my confidence in myself and how I look. So that's definitely something that I feel did not work this month. So I'll go ahead and copy that one over. And let's go ahead and see what can I improve. And then, yeah, memories was definitely going to Cincinnati and also taking myself on a birthday hike. So let's go ahead and pop those over into the memories. Cool. Also, I just realized I really should have added up here paying down my credit cards. This was a financially very, very heavy month for me because I moved this month and I bought a lot of new furniture to accommodate my move. So that's definitely something that is a big part of this month that I forgot to take note of when I was looking at my habits previously and my goals previously. Okay, I think that's probably it from that month. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then let's take a look at the most recent weekly review. Alrighty, so in this one, I'm getting back into routines. Yeah, that's something that I think is a big thing that's been recent, but I also don't think it's been a pattern over the course of the month. Neither was discovering Andrew Huberman, though I have, and I've listened to so many of his podcasts over the last 10 days. I already mentioned this, doing a good job at resting and taking time off. I actually like how I worded this better here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this one over and replace the other one. This one. Let's see, getting back in this. I do think this has been one of the biggest patterns over the last month. I've been really struggling with journaling and I really feel like I'm getting back into it. So that's been great. Paste that guy. What else? Haven't been consuming as much alcohol. That's definitely been true recently, but not the entire month. It was my birthday month, okay? And I was at a wedding with people I hadn't seen in 4 or 5 years. So it was a thing. I didn't order takeout hardly at all this month, which was, I think that contributed, the whole grocery shopping contributed a lot to that, and walking a lot. So I think I can copy both of those, paste those guys down. And I would say that's probably it for the what worked. And what I really wanted to kind of make sure of and make note of here is, I know I mentioned before that I could just go through my habits and see what habits are working really well. But usually I mention the habits that I'm doing a really good job at when I do my weekly reviews. So I feel like I've captured the majority of the what worked and the what didn't work here in my, even when it comes to my habits. In terms of the what did not work, I think I captured the habits that weren't working this month. My water drinking, I didn't mention anywhere because I wouldn't say that necessarily worked, but I also feel like I'm getting better. So that one kind of landed in between and didn't necessarily fall into either category. But let's keep going with this most recent weekly review. The other thing I mentioned here is not being very consistent with my business non-negotiables and all of these things. Yes, this is all true. So I'm going to copy this over as well. And that would be it with the what didn't work. I'm happy to see that I have more of what worked than what didn't work. That always is a little validating, feels pretty good. And then the last thing we can pull from here is that I recently went hiking. I hiked Mount Washington with a friend of mine recently, actually last week. It took me 5 days probably to stop being sore, but it happened. So that's kind of really what I do when I do the monthly review. I would actually say it's vastly less in depth than the quarterly review, and in a lot of ways doesn't even take as long as the weekly review sometimes, because what I'm looking for, and the whole purpose of this is I'm looking for patterns that can point me in the right direction and really kind of point to overall what is working and what is not working. What are the patterns I'm seeing in my weekly reviews that I feel like held true over the course of the month, if that makes sense. So then the last thing I go ahead and do is I go through and I think about what are some successes I can celebrate this month. And again, I've already kind of done this, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and pull some of the successes that I found. I'm doing a lot better with creating passive income in my business. That's slowly but surely building up. The fact that I am all moved into my new apartment has definitely been a success of the month. I have had a ton more interest in one-on-one coaching as well this month, which has been great. And I have booked another speaking engagement as well as booked flights for my speaking engagement that's in Traverse City. So those are kind of some of the successes I can celebrate for the month. So that's exciting. So then the last thing that I do is kind of think about what I can improve for the month. And one of the things that I have been enjoying recently, I want to maintain, and I want to almost do more of, is really spending some time outside. So getting outside more. We've had really, really nice weather. And actually, one of the things I realized this morning is one thing I'm liking about, I've been doing kind of morning walks around my neighborhood. And I really, really, really like the fact that it's kind of teaching me about my neighborhood, my new neighborhood, and what are some of the places that are around me. One of the other things I want to, this is kind of a continue to improve and a continue to focus on, is my routines, my morning routines and my evening routines. They've been very thrown off by moving, and I really want to make sure I get back into them. And so much of that is making sure I get to bed at a reasonable time and that I sleep well. So that's something I'm continuing to focus on. One thing that I do really, really, really want to improve is I want to cook more meals and have less frozen and pre-prepared meals. That's not knocking the frozen and pre-prepared meals, because they have been so important for me not eating out all the time recently. So that's definitely something I want to do more of, but I'm still okay with some pre-prepared stuff happening. And then lastly, I want to improve my time tracking. This is actually something I noticed when I was doing my weekly review for this past week, is that I have been really sucking at tracking my time. And that's something I like to do just to make sure I'm being effective and productive and using my time well. And that there's not any one part of my business that's becoming much more of a time suck than another part of my business. So I want to definitely do better with that. So we have checked into my habits. We checked into my goals. We've taken kind of inventory of the things that worked, didn't work, some memories, some successes that I can celebrate, and some of the places I want to focus on improving. Now, this is going to become important in just a second when I do some of my check-ins down here at the bottom, particularly this plan check-in. So more on that in a second. But the last thing I do before I get to these little check-ins here is I check in on my values. I do this once a month, and you can see here I have 5 core values, and I have what I call a value statement. I kind of think of that as like my own personal definition to what that value means to me. And I just check in with how do I feel like I'm embodying that value. So again, I've already done this, so I'm going to do a little bit of copying and pasting. But in terms of authenticity, I gave myself a 4 this month. And the reason why I gave myself a 4, as you can see in this reasoning here, is I couldn't really think of any particular instances where I felt like I was being very authentic, but I also didn't feel inauthentic. I actually feel like I'm being myself as much as I can. So that's kind of why I gave myself a 4. I don't feel like it's going badly. I just kind of couldn't think of any particular authentic moment for the month. Then for fulfillment, I'm actually like just super happy with my fulfillment this month. And I think a big reason for that is because of I focus so much on my routines. And I mentioned multiple times in my reviews, as you saw, that I was prioritizing being self-compassionate and stuff like that. And that really demonstrates that I'm pouring back into myself, which is a big part of my fulfillment value. Next is belonging. And perhaps it was because it's my birthday month, but this was a really, really good month from a relationship perspective. I feel like my social life was the best it's been in a really, really long time this month. And I feel like in pouring into that and focusing on that, it showed me what my best and my most authentic relationships are and the people I can be most myself with. And so that was really, really nice. This was a good month from that perspective. In terms of prosperity, I'd probably stay a 3 at this one. I even maybe thought about putting it at a 2. I don't feel as good about my financial security this month because I did spend a shit ton of money on my new apartment and in moving. And I think it's particularly feeling that way because of the fact that I have been doing a no spend challenge up until this point. I gave myself a pass in May for my new apartment and knowing that there were going to be expenses there. But I'm going to get back on track in June. That is for damn sure, because it was just, not great in May. And then lastly, freedom and flexibility. I think this is a 5 as well this month. And the reason for that is because I did so much stuff that really showed freedom and flexibility in my schedule. I was taking trips on the weekends. I took a lot of time off this month. It was just really, really good. And it showed me how much flexibility and freedom I really do have in my time and in my location. And it was lovely. So after I check in on my values, the last thing I do is I check in on my time tracking. This was one of the big moments when I did do this check in on my time tracking where I realized how bad I've been at tracking my time. Let me actually see if I can pull up Timular on the internet. I have it as an app on my computer, but let me see if I can pull it up on the internet. All right, so this is Timular. Timular is actually, I can show you, and actually I should probably flip this cube to what I'm currently working on. And you can actually see that when I do that, it's this little cube right here. It's got 8 sides to it, and the 8 sides represent different activities. You can see when I flip this side up, it signifies content creation because that is what I am doing right now. I actually forgot to start tracking this when I started. I think I started recording this video like 9:30-ish. So we're just going to say that. And then I usually will designate what it is that I am recording. I have not been great at time tracking recently. I did a lot better this week because I realized it was an issue. But if you look at previous weeks, like, trust me when I say I worked so much more than this. I just forgot to track it. So that is something that I definitely want to get better at because, again, I just feel like it shows me so much more of where my time's going and how I'm spending my time. So that's something I want to work on. The next thing I also do, which actually this reminds me that I forgot to do this yesterday, is I update my business stats tracker. My business stats tracker is something I update once a month. And what I do is I go in and I update sales and how they are based on my goals, my marketing stats, my website stats. I just go in and I update all of this stuff so that I can keep track of kind of where I'm at. So I'm going to leave that unchecked because I have not done that yet. And then what I do is I check into my life vision and I make any updates to my life vision. I created my life vision, which I'm going to show you in just a second. When I did a program called Lifebook on Mind Valley, I actually loved this program. I think it gave me so much clarity in the different parts of my life. And you can see those different parts right here. I loved it. I just didn't think it was worth continuing to pay for as soon as I'd gone through the program initially. So I went through the program and then I ended my membership because I just didn't think it was something that I needed to stay in. But I think it's been a very, very powerful tool to have and just to keep me on track with what I want in my life. So what the life vision looks like is it looks like just various questions that are kind of detailing what I see about my life. I actually think one of the places I really do need to go in and update is this one about family life, because I kind of left it pretty ambiguous before, but at this point I have a lot more clarity about what I want this to be. So I just need to update that. So that's one of the things that you create is this beautiful life vision. But perhaps the most important thing that you create in this program is, if I go into like health and fitness in my areas, it helps you create this premise, this vision, and this purpose for what you want in your health and your fitness. And these are just very, very powerful driving questions. So I really, really enjoyed doing Lifebook, and that is something, my life vision in particular, is something that I like to try to check into every month. So I'm going to go ahead and do that after I finish recording this, but it just kind of serves as a nice little check-in to how are you doing on track to the things that you say you want in your life. The next thing I go ahead and do is I update my monthly dashboard with whatever new goals and priorities I have for the month. Now, this is actually where, and I really shouldn't call this my @main dashboard so that I can just click it. This is where some of these what I want to improve things go in. And again, I have kind of already done this, but if I click into my main dashboard and scroll down here to my this month's goals, that's really where this comes in. So you can see my month's goals are to get up to a certain level of passive income, but I also have some of the things that I mentioned wanting to improve here, getting outside more and continuing to improve and focus on my morning routines. Now, the things that I had in my what I wanted to improve also included cook more meals and improve my time tracking. These are definitely things I want to do, but what I try to do is I try to keep my month's goals and my month's priorities to 3 or less. If I could keep all 5 of them, but I feel like sometimes we set ourselves up for failure when we have too many priorities over a short period of time, because at the end of the month, if I haven't made any progress on all of these, I might feel a little bad about myself. So I proactively try to mitigate that by realizing, okay, let's just make it 3 focuses for the month, 3 things that I'm going to try to make some headway on. So that is what I do for the plan. I also check in and modify my budgets in my finance section, which is something I actually already did recently. And then I clarify, schedule, and plan social activities and schedule time off. I already have time off scheduled for this month. And then I actually, when I did this, because I do my monthly reviews, I do a monthly plan with me inside of my community. So if that's something you want to join, go ahead and head to the link in the description below and join us inside of the community. But I already, as I was doing that walkthrough yesterday, I already put a whole bunch of things into my to-do list of people I wanted to follow up with and make a game plan for the next time I was going to see them. So I already did that. So the last 2 things I really have to do is to update my business stats tracker and check into my life vision. And actually, what I'm going to go ahead and do to kind of facilitate that and make sure I don't forget it is I'm going to add those to my quick capture. So let's do a new task due today, check into @business stats tracker and @life vision. And we'll make this a medium priority, but I do want it to be done today. So now I've added that, it'll add that to my to-do list for today. So that is it. That is my walkthrough of my monthly reset and review that I did at the end of May. As you can see, it is just kind of a reflection and a check-in on my weekly reviews to just help me, and again, former scientist here, to help me look at the data and see what the patterns were in the data from my life so that I can make potential changes, or it kind of gives me a much clearer picture of the things that I need to start doing and the things that I need to stop doing in my life to just continue on the trajectory that I want to be on. So if you like this kind of content, if you like this video, do not forget to like, subscribe, drop any comments below. Is this something that you do? Are there aspects of this that you really feel like would be helpful for you to integrate? Go ahead and drop those in the comments below. But with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.